Okay. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back. So we have another interesting discussions, which is coming up out here. I think you can already read the topic in the session. I'm not going to go out there. And then we have Shiva, who's going to be moderating it today completely. And then we have Mr. Amit, Abhi, and then Abhi, sorry. It's kind of a nickname. I have my friend, called Abhi. I'm so used to it. And then we have Biju. So over to you, Shiva.
Thank you. So, so welcome to the panel on reinventing customer experiences with using AI in retail and e-commerce. For the next 35 minutes, this panel of awesomeness and your friendly but not neighborhood panel will enthrall you with a lot of use cases and actual data based on their experiences. My name is Siva. I'm the panel moderator. I run the Indian operations of an analytics company. I worked in AI in a few use cases before, starting with my master's project in computer science, where we talked about dynamically reorganizing a database as it goes bigger based on the artificial intelligence that's generated. AI, especially machine learning and neural networks, is about data. It's a very hungry machine, a hungry beast or friend. And it becomes better and better the more you feed him or her into it, right? Building a neural network is about building a lot of data into it. One of the best sources of digital data is definitely e-commerce and retail. And it normally has a heads up in the journey of AI overall. We all know this. So that is basically the baseline of this panel, which is reinventing customer experiences in the context of AI in retail and e-commerce. So with that said, I will ask my panel to introduce myself. We will go with Abhay, followed by Amit, followed by Biju. And Sharath, if you're around, you fourth as well. Go ahead, Abhay.
Thank you so much, Shiva. Hi, everyone. My name is Abhay Tandon. I am the director and head of Lowe's Innovation Labs India. And just to give you a little bit of a context, Lowe's is a Fortune 50 retailer, and the second biggest home improvement retailer in the world. And we have an innovation entity which is focused towards partnering with various technology players in deep tech space to bring technology innovation to Lowe's, and we focus on AI. In the past, I've also have had the experience of working in a venture capital side
I
as
am
well as startup.
once I'm gonna.
So that's a little bit about me. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, this is Amit Lal. I work with Sodexo. I lead the workplace solutions practice. Overall, about 17 years of experience in consulting and strategy. Last 10 years in workplace strategy and consulting. I'll try and talk about a bit of applications in the workplace space, how we integrate that with the retail dimensions using AI and machine learning and smart technologies. So look forward to be a part of this session and share some insights.
No, I haven't gotten anything.
Thanks.
Which
Biju,
where
want to
is
go next?
Yeah, hi. Hi, my
Look, I
name
mean,
is Biju,
we're on WhatsApp, we're on
and
all of these
uh,
places. I don't know
we
where
are.
you're sharing the link with.
I'm
I
sorry,
got
there's
another
a
link.
disturbance there. Sharath,
Sure.
are you?
You're
Sharath, can you mute
could you
it?
mute it?
Sure.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi. So my name is Biju Nambiar. I'm the co-founder of ComSense, and ComSense
Looks like I'm
is
already on this
is
call,
been
so I don't
helping
know if you're not.
the retailers,
Okay, fine.
e-commerce
I'm on call.
companies
Bye.
for the last 5 years. Uh, you know, with the hello.
Yeah, you're good, Biju.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So Consensus has been helping the retailers to set up the entire platform from customer contact consolidation to developing models to recommendation engine to finally engage with the customers and to know the customers better in the digital era. So we have spent a lot of time understanding the segments of the customers that are changing in the retail segment, especially with the onset of e-commerce. There's a lot of behavioral aspects of the customers which we are capturing as data, which goes into a modeling, and the AI is helping us be more accurate and be able to manage that kind of data that is coming in. So we would like to talk about how we are helping some of the retailers to achieve their customer experience objectives.
Thank you,
Back to
Biju.
Shiva.
Sharath, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sharat Singh. I'm CEO for Quadrical AI. We are a SaaS AI product company. We build products for the e-commerce and retail customers. Broadly, we sell customized version of our retail CRM platform, which consists of three core offerings. One is a broad data AI platform. Second is a demand prediction platform, and third is a customer propensity platform. Glad to
Thank
be
you,
here.
Sharath. And Sharath is joins us from Canada, so thank you for doing that as well. It's the middle of the night for him. So let's begin with use cases, right? So the essence of AI in pretty much retail is about very interesting use cases. And when we log into either buying a grocery or ordering food, the best use case we see there is predictive analytics, like trying to tell us what to order and so forth. So with that, let's go around the room, and what I would like you guys to articulate is some interesting use cases that you're either working on or you are working towards. And perhaps we could go in the same alphabetical order, followed by Amit, followed by Biju, followed by Sharath.
Sure. Thank you so much. So just to again give that context, right? So we, as an organization, or from a retail standpoint, AI would be that or applied across the value chain of retail, right? Be it supply chain, be it in-store experiences, or .com or omni-channel, or even for that matter, sourcing, right? And all of these, either directly or indirectly, have some kind of an influence or interacts with the consumers or our customers, and enhances those experiences as well, right? So, for example, if you're looking at a supply chain standpoint, the last mile delivery is an important aspect, because you are, as a retailer, commit to the customers or consumers in terms of providing them a seamless experience of getting them their deliveries happen in a very, very quick turnaround time, right? Be it in stores or .com or through an omni-channel presence, right? One of the cases that I would like to also speak about, something that we're currently working on, is picking the winners in our assortment categories, right? So it's something that you see that across the globe, you have consumers, and then these consumers have different patterns that they actually consciously or subconsciously really like, and it's important to understand what those patterns mean and how do you pick up those patterns, and how do you really want to ensure that your assortment or your categories have the right kind of assortment, which are personalizing or which are personalized enough for the consumer, right? So we're working on that. This is one of the things that we're currently working on. There are a bunch of other cases that we are currently working on. We are applying it across the value chain, right? But one of the things that I would also wanted to talk about today, and reach out to the startups as well as other partners to explore, is how we can look at a convergence of AI with a bunch of other technologies. An area that is aspirational for us would be tactile e-commerce, for example, right? Today we talk about commerce happening from homes, right, on the go. And when you do that, you basically are, you're able to see and visualize stuff on the .coms to make those purchases. But if you really want to visualize it better, you have AR, VR, and of course that's applied with AI to personalize your choices, right? To make those annotations in that kind of a visualized environment. But what about touch? And that's where I think that we've been discussing about internally about how haptics can play a major role along with AI to actually enable a sensory fulfillment or a better experience, seamless and frictionless experience for our consumers, who can not just visualize the whole assortment, or let's say a home remodel or kitchen remodel sitting at home, but they can actually touch a lot of these things. And a lot of these things are possible when you look at a convergence of AI, ML, with a bunch of other technologies together, right? And my request would be for people to start thinking beyond just AI. I think it's a combination of multiple technologies which is going to be reshaping the future of retail. And that's what we're all looking forward to as well, to working with different stakeholders. That's a little bit about me.
Thank you.
So, hi, this is Amit here. I think the background that I want to really paint here is about what we do at Sodexo globally. So we are the leading provider of catering, hospitality, and food services globally. We serve about 100 million food meals every day across the globe. So that's a big number, and food no more has been just the commodity. It's more driven by experience, and it's all the more emotional in nature. So when we serve so many meals every day, we acquire a lot of data through various POS systems, and we've been doing that for the last almost 50 years. And as we have moved ahead, we have acquired more and more of technology. But off late, I think the last few years, we've realized the application of AI and machine learning into this space. And one of the use cases I want to really bring about here is a company called AI Go, which we have invested in as part of Sodexo Ventures, and which is primarily using ML and self checkout system based technology to really gauge what people want to order, map their behaviors over a period of time, and ensure they are fast and personalized checkouts that are available to them. So what we do is, it's a China-based startup. We are piloting in a couple of sites at the moment. We use sophisticated HD cameras to really capture all of the nutritional values, pricing-related data, and the consumer behavior at an individual level. So the whole idea is to really reduce the waiting lines, and especially in a post-COVID scenario, when you go back to work in a staggered way, ensuring the social distancing norms. This kind of technologies we are really looking at leveraging big time to ensure the consumer experience from a food perspective, ensuring that the right food is provided to them and as per their choices, and also ensuring that they are made aware of the nutritional value so that they can gradually move towards healthier food choices. So while it also ensures operational efficiency on one hand, using smart technology and that creates the data for us to analyze and then kind of segregate or segment the clients or users into multiple buckets, and then be able to fulfill them with the right kind of food and experiences that they desire at the end. So I think this is one of the areas we are looking at, but there are a lot much more that we do leveraging machine learning, but that's not so much to do with retail. It's more on the energy side, and a lot on the back end systems that we operate the workplaces with. So, but I think this was one of the use cases wherein I think we can get the food operations back to some level of restoration in the post-COVID era. And I think that's yet to be seen. There's a lot more of innovation leveraging AI and ML-based technologies in this space that is yet to come.
Thank you, Amit.
Yeah.
BJ, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I'll stick to the topic of reinventing, customer experience. When we talk about that, I would look at it as customer experience is a great customer experience is equal to a great segmentation strategy and a great ability to segment your market. And what is segmentation? It's nothing but your ability to personalize your messaging or your your treatment to a specific base of customer based on their behavior, based on their demography, right? I remember 20 years back when we used to do a segmentation, it was more of demographic segmentation, right? I mean, it was the income group, the city that you live in, and the age that you are, the sex, male or female. That's the only thing that you could do possibly that time. But today, 2020, we are looking at so much of data to be captured, so much of behavior, the digital behavior that we are actually telling our brands, right? We are telling them that, what we like, what we dislike, when do we abandon the cart, when do we buy something, when do we do not buy something, right? When do we want to be sold something, right? So what do we like to, when do we go for discounts? What kind of customers are going for discounts, right? So to going back into one of our, I would say, case studies and stories that we have, we were actually working with a group called as the Warehouse Group in New Zealand and Australia, and we were actually asked to create a platform for them which would be able to give them dynamic segmentation. Now, when we talk about dynamic segmentation, we definitely had to use the machine learning, algorithms and the logic and the entire system which went with dynamic segmentation. Now, the only, so this is a retail group which is one of the largest in Australia and New Zealand, and their chief marketing officer wanted to kind of use an AI platform to basically serve their customers better, enhance the customer experience, so as to say, and of course be able to cross sell and upsell the relevant products. So before we went on to create the recommendation engine for them, the first exercise that we did with them was to really understand the kind of segments that they currently have. And of course, there are multiple buyer personas, as we call it as cohorts, right? When we are looking at the kind of behavior that they exhibit. Some are discount seekers, some are weekend shoppers, some are adventure gear shoppers, some are high net worth individuals, some just do not shop because of a discount, some are Wednesday shoppers, right? Some are women shoppers who would only come during the weekend. So these were multiple segments that we were able to create for them, and that actually helped them. So from a basic 5 to 6 segments that the retailers or any e-commerce company would look at from a segmentation perspective, to going to 30-35 segments that can be dynamically created using a machine learning algorithm and an AI, right? And that is the advantage that you get when you want to categorize your data and put it into buckets for a better segmentation that results into a better experience. To give you a better experience is that we were able to sell a specific offer to a discount seeker because we knew that he comes from that behavior, right? So these are few things that, of course, I could talk, the entire story here, but this is where we have used AI, and we have been helping the other retailers also to kind of create a platform to consolidate the data, to make the segmentation, very very narrow segmentation. So we call it as segmentation 1:1 segmentation. That means you are able to know the customer very well based on the behavior, and you actually can create one segment for one customer. So that's and of course, once you do that, you're able to engage that customer using an engagement platform as well. So yeah.
Sure. Do you want to go next?
Absolutely. I think I'm going to be very short and quick. Viju kind of laid out the exact use case, which is kind of core to e-commerce, which is, hey, how do you do segmentation and how do you take meaningful actions? Again, I think AI gets a lot of rap in terms of it being elevated to a pedestal where it's supposed to perform something magical at ease. I think what Viju kind of articulated, and we've all seen who've built systems, that there is a lot of grind that needs to be done. So essentially, from a platform approach, we took a very grounded up approach. And I'll come to the use case. So essentially, what you need a multitude of things to be in place for you to be successful, right? You need to have a good data story. You need to be able to consume and process meaningful information. You need to be able to have certain core sets of technologies and pipelines working. You can't be building an impactful solution or when your foundations are not clear. So we actually built an entire product based on our 4 foundations. We have a data AI platform, which works massively at scale and cloud. We have a core internal capability of pattern prediction. We have corrective quality assessment of that pattern. We have a concept of introspective quality. We have an anomaly detection. So we have these core foundations in place, and then we go seek the same types of customers and challenges that Viju kind of talked about, saying customers are interested, or enterprises are interested in their customers engage in certain activities. Those activities translate into certain events. Now, some of those activities and events are meaningful and interesting. So those meaningful and interesting events are the types of things we've solved for many customers. Some customers say, hey, that meaningful event is a churn of a customer. For some, it is a fraud order. For another, it is an RTO on a COD order. So essentially, we say we are able to address all of these combinations of use cases at massively differentiated quality, what Viju kind of also referred to as the one-on-one segment. So if I know which customers are going to take what type of action, my intervention becomes a lot crisper. If I'm 100% sure, well, nobody can ever be 100% sure. If I'm 90% sure this particular customer, based on their propensity, based on all the micro segmentation I have done, if he's going to return the order, the decision for me not to give him a COD order option is very, very clear. Anyways, so without going into the specific details, the core sets of our class of use cases that we're kind of addressing, and we have many different segments of those problems where we are able to solve is the area of the customer propensity prediction. And we kind of bring in all sorts of technologies that we've created as part of our platform to be able to do that.
Thank you, Sharad. I suppose the tolerance for the data ambiguity can be much lower compared to the previous panel on healthcare, where it has to be 99.99% accurate. Here we're dealing with retail behavior, so we have probably more flexibility. So let me take a couple of questions in that's been asked. And the first question is from Linda, who basically is talking about the data quality, right? Because you generate a lot of data, and sometimes the data is not good, garbage in, garbage out. What are some methodologies that you're bringing about, either through AI or other ways, in terms of using meaningful data? Anyone?
I can go. So I totally agree. So I think garbage in, garbage out is a very nice way of saying it. We use shit in, shit out. But so definitely data quality is massive. And as you know, there's a massive industry out there around labeling data, around making sure human hands can help improve that data. But again, some of it is scalable, some of it is not. So industry has addressed the need of data quality in a variety of different ways. One of the ways, again, we are internally innovating is when we look at data at massive scale, you need to be able to use scale systems to be able to kind of handle it. There are encoder, decoder technologies are old, but those are extremely good ways to see which is in pattern, out of pattern data. Some of the latest technologies which are there around Bygans is we are finding that extremely useful in terms of saying, hey, let the data help push out the anomalies and the outliers. And as long as you have enough meaningful data, you can use the rest of it. So I think when we talk about data, there are all sorts of things that go on in terms of correct label, wrong labels, as well as anomaly data, outlier data. Again, we have invested massively in terms of being able to process large volumes of data and do as many things we can do in an automated manner. And that has helped us massively in our quest for overall quality of our products. I would love to hear what people have tried or any more specific questions.
Abhay, Vijay, or Amit, you want to add more?
Yeah, one thing here, on any AI project that we have been involved, right? 80% of the time, effort, and the sweat goes in data analysis, right? And I am sure that everyone would agree here, right? If people say that they can come on board and on the third day they can create a model and they can create a recommendation engine for you, they're certainly not doing it right? Because the data that you have as a brand or as a company or as an organization, right? You have your own unique problems about the quality of the data, and that somebody humanly will have to first qualify the data before even it gets into the AI engine. So it's 80% of effort, 80% of the things. If you get it right on the data side, data sets, right, which we call it exploratory data analysis, which is the process that we do, right? If you get it right, I'm sure that the next phase of your project will be much smoother than you imagined.
Perfect. So I'll take one more question. This is coming from Geneseo, and I'll take the second part of this question, which is, do you have any interesting use cases of AI in a physical retail store? I remember seeing a few years back in a Chinese ecosystem where there was a camera, and it looked at the shoppers, and based on body language, etc., it was able to predict which shopper clusters are likely to buy, and it would send an SMS to the store keepers to go and assist those shoppers so that more revenue could be generated. So, do you guys have any interesting use cases in terms of physical retail store?
Sure,
I have. Okay.
Sorry, Amit.
Go please. Go. I'll come afterwards.
All right. So, I mean, everything in stores right today is applying AI, right? When you look at the first thing being, let's say, the planograms, right? the planning and compliance analytics, which allows for the refurbishment of stock or inventory replenishment, right? It's important for consumers so that they don't walk into a particular store, see the wrong inventory at the wrong place, right? Or sometimes when the inventory is stocked out. So those are the places where you see a lot of application of AI. Then, like you mentioned, Shiva, you have on your Zebra or handheld devices, the store teams or store associates always get those messages saying that this consumer is having a larger dwell time at a particular location at a particular aisle of the store, and they should be they're basically looking confused. Maybe you should go and assist them, right? So there's a lot of places. Then you have self checkouts, right? Then you have a lot of application of predicted machine learning and edge computing to have real-time data capture and decisions being made on top of that immediately to assist the shoppers, right? On self-checkouts, for example, or it could be on power outages, hardware outages, network outages, etc., which again cause for a problem in terms of consumers' experiences, right? So that at the end of the day, stores and .com or any kind of omni-channel presence, they're all interlinked, and stores have a lot of AI application. In fact, you see a tremendous value of using AI across various ways in which you can create better experiences for the consumers, right? And these are some of them, but there are endless ways. Extended aisling systems. You have robots coming into who are walking with you, showing you the exact aisle. You have bots there, so on and so forth, right? So there are a lot of ways in which you can in the physical store environment apply AI along with, and there's a convergence, of course, with other technologies too, which can help in this.
Thank you.
So
Anyone else?
so Amit here. So I have one use case which I have read about, and I think that was quite interesting. That is about virtual trial rooms in the brick and mortar retail space. And given that people had to try so many things, and it takes time, the queues outside the trial rooms. So having virtual trial rooms is probably something very interesting. So you can have those smart mirrors, touch screens, and you can actually, it can take the dimensions of your body and then just portray a picture of you wearing those dresses. Likewise, in case of cosmetics, also without even applying anything on your face, you can actually see how it looks like on you. But I think in the post-COVID scenario, this has a real big application in the brick and mortar retail space, because you don't want to wear something with somebody else's one, right? And I think, and we don't know how many people wear those dresses over and over again. Just to try it out. So I think something of that kind of innovation is going to be an imperative for the retailers. And I think additionally on the e-commerce side, a lot of the human behavior has been really replicated or reflected through AI, or rather addressed through AI and machine learning based systems. But I think the offline retail is really yet to do a lot more. I think their focus was definitely to understand consumers, and I think they were early adopters of analytics a couple of decades back, probably, or even more. But I think from a consumer experience point of view and a personalization point of view, there is still a lot more that can now be done, because e-commerce is definitely going to stay ahead in the times to come than the normal retail. So that's where both can leverage the data. They can really package it, really look into the insights and see how they can translate the human behaviors and understand those better to address the human needs. And I think that human-centric thought process really needs to be reflected even more into the systems now.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you.
Anyone else want to add to that question? Okay, so I'll get to the next one, and I think post that we will get into the closing mode. Is when we had this panel review, we thought, like, let's not touch much upon the COVID-19 situation because there's so much of that going everywhere. Let's stay out of this. But I guess we can't escape the 100-pound gorilla in the room. So let's have one closing question on that. I think the next few months you will see immense focus towards ROI. Every investment of any corporation is going to be focused towards how to make the most out of the least you have. What do you see? How do you see it panning out in both e-commerce and retail? Do you see it as like something that there'll be more AI because people want to get more out of it, or do you see it being more challenged?
I can go.
Yeah, please, sure.
I think foundationally, I am very, very positive as to how the entire human race comes out of it. This is part of every other evolution that we've kind of gone through. probably not at all as severe as other previous life-defining evolutions might have been. But at least fundamentally, what it is forcing all of us to do is understanding as to what is real, what is important, and what is not. In the past, we gave ourselves a lot of credit for being in room, showing up was enough. There's going to be massive premium for where the value is being added. And I think that transcends into e-commerce. I think one of the panelists kind of talked about where e-commerce is going to get bigger and better because we will figure out how technology helps bridge the gap between physical presence. The physical stores will figure out massively to leverage the digital capabilities. So I think that convergence is going to be there. But the massive thing across the board, everywhere, we're going to be looking at quality. Our acceptance of lower quality product is going to be completely gone. So as the premium for quality goes up, e-commerce, AI, building systems based on your data, having massively differentiated systems with high quality is going to be table stakes. So again, I see I'm extremely bullish in terms of how, as a human race, we will be a lot more efficient in our quest for doing what's important and putting aside things which may not be. But there's a little bit of philosophy back there too.
No, it's great. Anyone else wants to add to that point? To that?
I think post-COVID era, I think what will change is that everything will go e-commerce. So I'm looking at everything going e-commerce, whether it's education, healthcare, you name it, and it's going e-commerce. So when I say e-commerce, I'm saying that people are digitally consuming content, they are paying digitally, they are rendering services digitally, they are consuming services digitally. Everything is happening digital without a manual intervention. So I call it as an e-commerce. So the e-commerce will not be just the retail e-commerce that you think of, but e-commerce is going to take a different shape altogether. I mean, I would look at even these counseling, the mental health counseling will also go e-commerce, right? Because now I could see that there's a lot of mental health problems that it will create, and there'll be a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists, who would take the e-commerce route to reach their patients, their prospects, whatever it is, right, and deliver a service and fulfill a service. So I see e-commerce in every aspect of life. That's what I believe.
Perfect. So I guess with that, let's get to the closing thoughts on the panel. And I think all of you could, maybe we'll go on the other side, start with Sharad and then Biju and then followed by Amit and Abhay. I think, based on the discussions we've had so far and other experiences that's not been covered related to the concept of reinventing customer experiences in the context of AI in retail and e-commerce. Any closing thoughts, Sharad?
No, so I think, look, I think we're all in agreement where, given the advancement of technology, given the advancement of our global business, AI is well poised to have a massive impact. And I think the overall global ecosystems are kind of gearing up extremely well to take on that challenge and opportunity. And, I think even in this panel, you see a fairly vibrant mix of I won't call Lowe's old school, but a lot of traditional retail customers or retail giants are really leaning into figuring out as to how they're going to be leading the charge on digital. And then there are startups out there which are trying to figure out as to how they can bring differentiated technologies. So again, I think all in all, extremely great position for folks in e-commerce, digital conversions, both on the retail side, offline, online, providers. I think great time to be around.
Thank you. Biju?
Yeah, I think there's so much of surge in the data, and especially now in the last couple of months, you would have seen that everybody is on digital platforms, and there is so much of data that is getting pushed into the there's so much of streams that is getting downloaded and uploaded, right, real time. And I'm sure that it's not the capability of natural intelligence which belongs to us. It's only a capability of artificial intelligence which can take it up. So AI is going to be much more important, and people are going to invest in the coming times for sure.
Abhay, sorry, Amit, yeah. I think we lost your audio, Amit.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
So I second Biju on his thoughts of the proliferation of AI into the various dimensions of life, not just the retailing side of it, and more of data coming from more and more of sources, and we using multiple devices, multiple apps. What I really see, I think what AI has been doing is, really sensing, predicting, and automating the processes and the consumer behaviors and addressing those. But I think it's also time to look at integrating those into our daily lives, because through a more singular apps, because I think we are burdened with the sort of analysis paralysis situation where we have so many apps available for doing so many things. So I think I look at Paytm, I look at all of these payment channels. I think they're doing a good job of integrating these payment activities at least. And therefore, when I look at from a workplace standpoint, very quickly, a large part of the global workforce will be working remotely, mostly from the homes for a good time to come now, and which really kind of blend their personal and professional lives and extends their working hours as well. So I think some sort of this integration, where AI can play a role to smoothen their lives on a day-to-day basis, especially from an e-commerce and retail point of view, and fulfilling their needs and demands, would be very, very helpful. So, but I think it needs to be quick and in terms of go-to-market.
Thank you. And last but not least, Abhay.
Sure, thanks, Shiva. So I think let me first address Sharat's comment on Lowe's being old school, right? I think that's more important for me to do here.
I knew it's coming.
Yeah, I know.
I
Sharat,
did apologize immediately after.
no, it's okay, but I just wanted to put the facts out there, right? I mean, we had consumer-facing robots in 2017, leading consumer interaction with robots across the retail industry. We fabricated our own chips, and we continue to do so from the last few years in our own labs. We have patents on CGI. We have built our own bogies and rigs for CGI and photogrammetry. We partnered with Microsoft for HoloLens application, HoloLens One applications when HoloLens was just launched. We have partners such as Tesla, Magic Leap, SpaceX, NASA, BrainCorp, Boston Nova, Boston Dynamics, and so on and so forth, right? So if this is old school, then I'm not sure what And just for everyone to know, we did build our own 3D printer in house that works in space, and we partnered with NASA to validate that, right? Being a retailer. So I'm not sure how Lowe's could be called old school, but then we are at the forefront of technology, and that's what we're looking at areas such as nanotech to create homes for consumers which are fire resistant, which are earthquake resistant. We are talking about haptics for creating tactile e-commerce. We are talking about a bunch of technologies around drones, autonomous vehicles, robotics, etc., which are really solving for a lot of consumer problems, right? So my and final thoughts are going to be around how do we just not like you mentioned, Sharat, in one of your points, that we're putting AI on a pedestal, and it's rightly done so, but at the same time we need to look at a convergence of multiple technologies coming together to solve for it, where AI plays a core role. When you talk about stores, federated machine learning is an important concept that with the confidential computing that's coming up at the store level as well. And I personally think while COVID is playing a major role in terms of driving more online presence, I think it's going to be a digital world even in the future. So where the lines are going to be very, very blurred. So let's continue to focus on some of these applications and how do we get to that. So that's it from me.
Okay.
Siva, if I may, just one last comment.
Yeah, just so long as you're, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So very quick comment. So again, Abhay, you were representing an industry when I made that comment. But I think the core important thing, and I think you touched upon it, and as a sentiment, we all kind of talked about it. I differ with Biju a little bit where, look, things are going to pass in a variety of different ways. What's most important and what's really happening now is the convergence. Today we are excited and we're kind of saying, hey, everything is going to be e-commerce. We will have to live our lives, and we'll always live our lives in a physical world and not a digital world. So I always assume that digital world would be a subservience to our physical world. It may play a bigger and bigger role, but I think this whole convergence that is happening, and again, not to overrate that point, but the aspect that companies like Lowe's have been leading this charge of saying, hey, look, technology is as is. How do I apply it to the betterment of my physical world? If they're sending a robot or if they're sending a 3D printer to Mars, there is a notion out there. I need to meld these new technologies into meaningful, productive use cases. So I think that's pretty commendable. And I think that's where the real value is going to be, where stronger, smarter enterprises with a lot of data, with a lot of ability to make an impact, as they embrace AI, as they embrace digital in a massive way, that's what is going to change the transformation, and not the traditional, .com era, smaller companies trying to. I don't believe there is innovation without the data in AI. Period.
Thank you
But
all.
anyways, so I think I do agree with all of the panelists' points, saying, hey, this is extremely great time. The convergence of physical to digital, the kick in the pants that we all received in terms of our complacency. I think it's all kind of leading in the right direction.
Thank you all. I think it's a nice panel with a mix of two large companies and two young but soon to be large companies. And Santosh is here, and that in a normal physical panel you would say that let's not stand between lunch and this panel. So I would take Santosh's arrival as like equivalent to it. So let's kind of say that it's lunchtime, and Santosh is eager to get his lunch, so we will do it some other time. A big thank you to all for a few really exciting speakers, and thank you for putting up with our multiple rehearsals and discussions before. Thank you for this. A huge thank you to motivators, the chief motivators, Ajay and Shweta, for bringing together this wonderful platform for a couple of days, and Jagruti and Anumeya to bring together this wonderful thing. I really enjoyed our meet. I think it's a terrific platform. I read this interesting quote about virtual platforms a few days back. Imagine having a bar or a place where you go to and you meet everybody there in the same place, right from your professor to your co-workers to your boss to maybe even your potential data, whatever, right? It's pretty much what we're doing right now. And in that context, AirMeet is really a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed this so far. Thank you all, and thank you, panel, and thank you, organizers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shiva.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. Thank you, Vijay.
you.
Thank you, Sharat.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Abhi.
Thank you to the
We're not
audience as
able
well.
to address the questions right now. I'm really sorry, audience. We have to move on. There's one more session before we take a break for the lunch. So that's why I'm just wrapping up a little early. Maybe there's one question which is very interesting. I don't want to go away with it. It says, instead of recording more and more data and analyzing a pile of junk, have you ever looked at how nature works, creating smart by nature products by picking only meaningful data? I think this is an interesting one. We had the start, last night in our meet as well, actually, for a solution.
We took part of it. The second part of it, we answered it, Santosh.
Right.
But if anyone wants to add something more to it, please
do. Right. Yeah. You want to, anyone? Okay. I think
I didn't quite understand the question, but
yeah. We kind of took the second part of the question alone, which is basically about quality of data and garbage out. We kind of paraphrased Linda's question slightly differently.
Right. Sure then. Sure then. Thank you so much then. I think even the last question of Gautam also, I think it's kind of addressed, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Right. Sure then. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're going to back in a minute's time with the next session. Kindly hold on. Thank you so much, everyone, and the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Santosh.